Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Ram 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Ram 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 Hare 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 Krishna Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna Boom. Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare Hare Jaya Radha Vrindavan Chandra Radha Vrindavan Chandra Radha Vrindavan Chandra Shri Radhe Jaya Radha Jaya Jagannatha Jaya Baladeva Subhadra Maya Jaya Sudarshana Jaya Jagannatha Jaya Jagannatha Swami Nayana Pathagami Bhavotu Me Jaya Jaya Krishna Balaram Jaya Krishna Balaram Jaya Vrindavana Jaya Krishna Balaram Jaya Gauranitai Jaya Gauranitai Ibo Jaya Jaya Prabhupada Jaya Jaya Prabhupada Jaya Prabhupada Jaya Jaya Gurudev Jaya Jaya Gurudev Jai Jai Gurudev Nitai Gaura Hari Bol Nitai Gaura Hari Bol संकीर्तन की जय हरे कृष्ण महामंत्र की जय जय ओम विष्णुपाद परमहंस परिव्राजकाचार्य अष्टोत्तर श्री श्रीमद् अभय चरणारविंद भक्ति वेदांत स्वामी श्रील प्रभुपाद की जय विष्णुपाद परमहंस परिव्राजकाचार्य नित्य लीला प्रविष्ट भक्ति सिद्धांत सरस्वती गोस्वामी ठाकुर प्रभुपाद की जय। श्री गौड़ीय वैष्णव गुरु परंपरा की जय। नामाचार्य श्री हरदास ठाकुर की जय। प्रेम से कहो श्री कृष्ण चैतन्य प्रभु नित्यानंद श्री अद्वैत गदाधार श्रीवास आदि गौर भक्त वृंद की जय। श्री श्री राधा कृष्ण गोप गोपीनाथ श्याम कुंड राधा कुंड गिरी गोवर्धन धाम की जय। ब्रज भूमि वृंदावन धाम की जय। मथुरा धाम की जय। द्वारकापुरी धाम की जय। पुरुषोत्तम क्षेत्र जगन्नाथपुरी धाम की जय। नवद्वीप मायापुर धाम की जय। गंगमय यमुना माई की जय। भक्ति देवी तुलसी महारानी की जय। कलयुग पावन हरिनाम संकीर्तन की जय। हरे कृष्ण महामंत्र की जय। जगत गुरु श्रील प्रभुपाद ट्रांसेंडेंटल बुक मैराथन की जय। जगत गुरु श्रील प्रभुपाद की जय। निताय गौर प्रेमानंदे। ऑल ग्लोरीज टू असेंबल डिवोटीज। हरे कृष्ण। ऑल ग्लोरीज टू असेंबल डिवोटीज। ऑल ग्लोरीज टू असेंबल डिवोटीज। हरे कृष्ण। ऑल ग्लोरीज ऑल ग्लोरीज ऑल ग्लोरीज टू श्री गुरु एंड श्री गौरांगा। ओम नमो भगवते वासुदेवाय।
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 नारायणं नमस्कृत्य
नारायणं नमस्कृत्य
नरं चैव नरोत्तमं
नरं चैव नरोत्तमं
देवीं सरस्वतीं व्यासं
देवीं सरस्वतीं व्यासं
ततो जायमुदीरये।
ततो जयमुदीरये।
नष्टप्रायेषु अभद्रेषु
नष्टप्रायेषु अभद्रेषु
नित्यं भागवत सेवया
नित्यं भागवतसेवया
भगवतिरुत्तमश्लोके
श्लोके
भक्तिर्भवति नैष्टिकी।
भवति नैष्टिकी।
कृष्णाय वासुदेवाय
कृष्णाय वासुदेवाय
देवकी नंदनाय च
देवकीनन्दनाय
नन्दगोपकुमाराय
नन्दगोपकुमाराय
गोविन्दाय नमो नमः।
गोविन्दाय नमो नमः।
ग्रंथराज श्रीमद् भागवत पुराण की
जय।
So reading from Canto 1 chapter 8 text number 9. So this chapter is titled as Prayers by Queen Kunti. Uttara uvacha
उत्तर उवाच
pahi pahi mahayogin
पाहि पाहि महायोगिन्
deva deva jagatpate
देव देव जगत्पते
nanyam tvadbhayam pashye
नान्यं त्वद्भयं पश्ये
yatra mrityu parasparam
यत्र मृत्यु परस्परं
pahi pahi uttara uvacha
उत्तर उवाच
pahi pahi mahayogin
पाहि पाहि महायोगिन्
deva deva jagatpate
देव देव जगत्पते
nanyam tvadbhayam pashye
नान्यं त्वद्भयं पश्ये
yatra mrityuh parasparam
यत्र मृत्यु परस्परं
uttara uvacha
उत्तर उवाच
pahi pahi mahayogin
पाहि पाहि महायोगिन्
deva deva jagatpate
देव देव जगत्पते
nanyam tvadbhayam pashye
नान्यं त्वद्भयं पश्ये
yatra mrityuh parasparam
यत्र मृत्यु परस्परं उत्तर उवाच
uttara uvacha
पाहि पाहि महायोगिन्
pahi pahi mahayogin
देव देव जगत्पते
deva deva jagatpate
नान्यं त्वद्भयं पश्ये
nanyam tvadbhayam pashye
यत्र मृत्युः परस्परं
yatra mrityuh parasparam uttaro uvacha
पाहि पाहि महायोगिन्
pahi pahi mahayogin
देवदेव जगत्पते
देवदेव जगत्पते
नान्यं त्वदभयं पश्ये
नान्यं त्वदभयं पश्येत्
यत्र मृत्युः परस्परम्
यत्र मृत्युः परस्परम् उत्तरो उवाच
पाहि पाहि महायोगिन्
पाहि पाहि महायोगिन्
देवदेव जगत्पते
देवदेव जगत्पते
नान्यं तद् अभयं पश्ये
नान्यं त्वदभयं पश्येत्
यत्र मृत्युः परस्परम्
यत्र मृत्युः परस्परम् Mataji's, if they're online, anybody would like to recite?
Can I recite, Prabhu? Hare Krishna.
Yes, please go ahead, Mataji.
Dandavat Pranam, Prabhu. Thank you. Uttaro vacha
Uttaro vacha
pahi pahi mahayogin
pahi pahi mahayogin
deva deva jagatpate
devadeva jagatpate
anyam tvadabhayam pashye
nanyam tvad abhayam pashye
yatra mrityu parasparam.
yatra mrityuh parasparam.
Thank you, Prabhu. Dandavat.
Yeah, anyone else? Are there any? Fine. Sri Sanatan, thank you. It was a correction. It is Tvad Abhayam Pashe. I pronounced that Tvad Bhayam. It is completely opposite. So, synonyms, that is word to word translation and purport by His Divine Grace, A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada ki jai. Word to word. Uttara Uvacha. Uttara said. Pahi pahi. Protect. Mahayogin. The greatest mystic. Deva. The worshipable of all worship. All the worship.
The worshipable of all.
Sorry. The worshipable of the worshipped.
Worshipable of the worshipped.
Jagatpate.
Jagatpate.
O Lord of the universe.
O Lord of the universe.
Na. Not. Anyam. Anyone else. Tvat. Than you. Abhayam. Fearlessness. Pashye. Do I see? Yatra. Where there is. Mrityuhu. Death. Parasparam. In the world of duality. Translation. Uttara said, O Lord of Lords, Lord of the universe, you are the greatest of mystics. Please protect me, for there is no one else who can save me from the clutches of death in this world of duality. Purport. This material world is a world of duality in contrast with the oneness of the absolute realm. The world of duality is composed of matter and spirit, whereas the absolute world is complete spirit without any tinge of material qualities. In the dual world, everyone is falsely trying to become the master of the world, whereas in the absolute world, the Lord is the absolute Lord and all others are His absolute servitors. In the world of duality, everyone is envious of all others and death is inevitable due to the dual existence of matter and spirit. The Lord is the only shelter of fearlessness for the surrendered soul. One cannot save himself from the cruel hands of death in the material world without having surrendered himself at the lotus feet of the Lord. Jagat Guru Srila Prabhupada ki. Om Ajnana Timirandhasya Jnananjana Shalakaya Chakshurun Militam Yena Tasmai Shri Guruve Namah. Shri Chaitanya Manobhishtam Stapitam Yena Bhutale Swayam Rupa Kadamayam Dadati Swapadantikam Vandeham Shri Guru Shri Yuta Padakamalam Shri Gurum Vaishnavamscha Shri Rupam Sagrajatam Sahagana Raghunathamitam Tam Sajivam Sadvaitam Savadutam Parijana Sahitam Krishna Chaitanya Devam Shri Radha Krishna Padan Sahagana Lalita Shri Vishakamitamscha Nama Om Vishnu Padaya Krishna Prishtaya Bhutale Shrimate Bhaktivedanta Swamin Niti Namine Namaste Saraswati Deve Gauravani Pracharine Nirvishesha Shunyavadi Paschatya Deshatarine Vancha Kalpa Tarubhyascha Kripa Sindhu Vaivacha Anam Pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namaha Namo Mahavadanyaya Krishna Prema Padayate Krishnaya Krishna Chaitanya Namane Gauratvishe Namaha Panchatattvamakam Krishnam Bhaktarupa Swarupakam Bhaktavataram Bhaktakyam Namami Bhakta Shaktikam He Krishna Karuna Sindho Dinabandho Jagatpate Gopesha Gopika Kanta Radha Kanta Namostute Tapta Kanchana Gaurangi Radhe Vrindavaneshwari Rishabhanu Sute Devi Pranamami Haripriye Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shivasadi Gaura Bhakta Vrinda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare. Hare Krishna. So happy to be here in the midst of so wonderful devotees, and I sincerely seek blessings and prayers unto your lotus feet, although having no qualification at all to speak on such wonderful topics, exalted topics of Srimad Bhagavatam. But I'm sure by your prayers and blessings, we'll be able to discuss, something for my own purification and for your, pleasure. So this wonderful verse, we are in chapter number 8, and the wonderful section of Queen Kunti's prayers, where Srila Prabhupada has written a separate book, such wonderful approaching the mood of Kunti Maharani. We understand that Pandavas, despite of being pure devotees, they are going through so many turmoils in life. It is up, down, just as we thought that everything is over, the war is over, dharma has won over adharma. They had this heinous act done by none other than, their Guru Putra, Ashwathama, of killing of Draupadi's 5 sons. Such a turmoil in their life. Yet, we see in the previous verses, Draupadi displays this amazing virtue, which is a very fabric of Vedic culture, that even in provoking situation, a true devotee, a pure-hearted devotee, displays this amazing quality of kindness and forgiveness. So, although Ashwathama was liable to be punished, this was the most heinous act, to kill somebody, and that too, Nihatta children in their sleeping state. Of course, he thought they were Pandavas. He had to be punished. But Draupadi, with her large heart, and this purity attracts Krishna. So, Srila Prabhupada, at one place he mentions the greatness of a person is tested by one's response in a provoking situation, and how, its ability to tolerate, and how wonderfully this is displayed by Draupadi. And that's why she is most dear to Lord Krishna. And on the other hand, Ashwathama, although being virtue of having such wonderful birth in a Brahmana's family, and that too, Kulguru, Dronacharya's being Dronacharya's son, he had all the opportunities to live a noble life. But how the life is, turned for himself. In the midst of, being revengeful, not once, twice, he exactly knew that Brahmastra had the powers to devastate the entire universe, and he very well knew that he won't be able to revoke it. But yet, just out of blind revenge, he used that against once, not once, twice. And here we see, this act is non-pardonable. You are trying to kill a child, thinking that this is the only heir to Pandavas, which is still unborn in the womb of a mother, and you are trying to kill with the most powerful weapon, not thinking that what great havoc it can cause. This is also a lesson for us, how not to act. Because when power or position is given to unqualified, unmatured person, it can turn havoc to the entire world. So this is also one lesson. At slightest provocation, when you are blinded by revenge and envy, a person can go to any state. No matter what happens to others, but I need to get saved. So this was, a contrasting behaviors through which we are coming to this episode, where now Ashwatthama has really, he's released this Brahmastra and it's on its way, such a powerful missile. Prabhupada mentioned it's much better than, modern technological cruise missiles, where it can exactly hit the location and, kill that unborn child in the womb and without causing any other damage. Such powerful astra. And here, Uttara. See, Uttara being a lady, ladies have sixth sense. They can perceive. If anything is to endanger their own child, they can quickly perceive. But here we see Uttara's response. And this, I think, is the highlight of this wonderful verse. Krishna is only shelter. She had most powerful men in the entire planet. They have just won the sinusoidal war. She could have cried out for, Pandavas, the most powerful Pandavas. But what she did? Pahi Pahi. She just, Mahayogin, she just ran towards Krishna because she knows Krishna is the only shelter. And this is also a, hallmark of a devotee. That in the greatest calamity, of course, we understand, and we are now going to learn from Kunti Maharani, whether it is sukha or dukkha, whether it is calamity or time to rejoice, the only shelter is Krishna. But many a times it is observed, at least we have experienced, that when the calamity comes, the immediate shelter is first of all our mind. We try to think how best I can get saved from this situation, and if not, then our near and dear ones. The first response, कुछ भी होता है तो हम क्या कहते हैं? Oh ma, oh ma. We are calling our mama, that's our mother, father, and, parents and all the friends, relatives. These are the first point of shelter. At later on, Lord Krishna in Mahabharata, we know this wonderful Draupadi's pastime, and he was saying that though Draupadi, she had to go through all this turmoil, just imagine, the princess of the Kurus, the Samrat family who are reigning in the entire world, and they are in Dwapar Yuga, and she is in a Rajaswala situation, wearing single cloth, supposed to be in the private chamber. She's dragged like an animal in the assembly of Kurus. Such humiliation, why she had to go through? Because of his, Krishna explains, because of her past deeds. But then there is a statement, he says, fortunately, she called out for me. So this is the greatest fortune which is available for us. And Uttara here again epitomizes this wonderful, attitude of a devotee, that no matter what is the situation, we understand at the end of the day, although situation is not in my control, but Krishna is definitely in the control of situation. And that's the principle devotees remember. You all have heard this, Gaur Gopal Prabhu very graphically explains this story, humorous story. So there is this flight, and it is about to land, an emergency landing. And when I don't know how many of you have experienced, at least I have experienced, when we used to go from Delhi to Uttarakhand. Used to be a very small plane. I used to go for official duty. Every time I used to go board that flight, I would say this is the best time to chant, because the entire plane about, while landing, it would be as if this is the last flight you are going to, we are never going to, land. So this flight, everybody was crying for the help, and pilot is trying to saying, calm down, we are going to have emergency, just hold on your breath. And everybody in their own way, they are so much in anxiety, but one little girl, 7-year-old girl, she's happy reading her own book, and she's smiling, she's into her own world, not at all disturbed. And the old man next to her, when the plane lands, you've heard this story, right? All of you? So, okay, I'm not going to graphically explain, but you must hear, His Grace Gaur Gopal Prabhu's story. It's very famous. So while every person on the flight, including flight attendants and staff, crew, everybody in anxiety, probably they are saying this is the last time we are going to, live moment. And finally the plane lands and they are finally able to put the step down. And that old man who's sitting next to that girl, he's so curious and he was in such anxiety. He said, I want to ask one thing. How can, being such little girl, did you not be fearful? You are about to die. Everybody was about to die. They were, Dandavat Pranam Pruchi. So everybody was about to die and you are so calm. And she smiles and says, Uncle, actually, you know what? The pilot of this plane is my father. And for him, if I'm on the flight, I'm rest assured that he'll do his best to save everybody and do a landing. So I am completely assured. In a way, this teaches us a lesson that how many times in the calamities we think that ultimate shelter is Krishna. We try and go for immediate shelters. So, Avashya Rakshibe Krishna is the sentiment which is resonated by this wonderful verse, and we are really grateful for Uttara to remind us. So in the purport, Srila Prabhupada says, the world of duality is composed of matter and spirit. And whereas the absolute world is complete spirit without any tinge of material qualities. How many times we would have heard this? Padam padam vipadam natesham. The first baby steps when we take in spiritual life, this is the first thing which is taught to us. We are not part of this world is full of anxieties. This world is designed to be dukkhalayam ashashvatam. But do we realize that? We still complain. If you are put into the midst of ocean where the waves are tossing you up and down, you can't complain, right? You have chosen to be in that ocean and now you are being tossed up and down. Where is the complaint? Ocean's nature is to toss you up and down. The same very nature, in this material world, whenever, there is a small tinge of happiness is on your plate, you should immediately get reminded, next, I am to get a big, huge Mahaprasad of miseries. This is the contrast of material life. Whenever there is honor on your way, rest assured that somebody is going to criticize you and you will be dishonored in a very short while. It's just matter of time. This is a reminder. Whenever there are praises on your way, somebody somewhere, is going to misunderstand you, criticize you. What to speak of us? Even Lord Krishna, at one point of time, we hear in Krishna book, right? This wonderful pastime of Shamantaka jewel. He was misunderstood and everybody was whispering, is Krishna responsible? For this, is he wanting to get this Shamantaka money? Is he going to the extent of killing somebody? Is it true? Even Krishna, Lord Krishna. So this is going to display that nobody is indispensable while you are in this material world. So profit and loss, adoration, these are all part of life. Hence, probably the reason Lord Krishna chose to teach Arjuna even before he gets into this philosophy that you are not his body, you are soul, and we are all eternal part and parcel of the Lord, what he teaches? My dear Arjuna, since you are here, matras parshastu kaunteya, shita ushna sukha dukkada, agamapa nityas, tam stitikshasva bharata. Tolerate. This is the only solution. Is there a solution for going through the dualities of the world? Yes and no. No, in the sense, unless you come out of this world, ultimately you are not going to go to the absolute. But yes, in the sense, tolerate. So I was wondering in my initial childhood, spiritual childhood, when I heard this first time, initial times, I was wondering why Krishna is asking to tolerate. We can understand dukkha, tolerate dukkha. But why sukha? Why Krishna is asking us to tolerate? And how to tolerate sukha? Sukha, I want to grab with both the hands, Why at all I'm worried about tolerating sukha or ananda or pleasure or happiness or praises. And then Acharyas explain us, my dear sir, tolerating sukha is not to get proud. Because pride will bring you forgetfulness that you are in this material world. So when there are good times, don't become proud. Where there are bad times, don't get depressed. because good times are going to come. And ultimately, what is good? Which will bring near to Krishna. So, tolerating dualities of this world. So this world is the world of duality is composed of matter and spirit, and whereas the absolute world is complete spirit without any tinge of material qualities. So this is a reminder that it will be very unrealistic to think that I can make people happy, because that's not going to happen. So further, Prabhupada mentions, in the dual world, everyone is falsely trying to become master of world, whereas in the absolute world, the Lord is absolute Lord, and all others are his absolute servitors. Very deep and profound. What is absolute world? And here Srila Prabhupada reminds us what is the difference, our DYS classes. What is the difference between spiritual world and material world? This wonderful verse we can probably say it together. Last verse of Brahma Samhita. Shriya Kanta Kanta Parama Purusha Kalpataravo Ruma Bhumischinta Maniganita Moyam Amrutam Katha Ganam Natyam Gaganamapi Vamshi Priya Sakhi Chidanandam Jyotir Gati Virala Chara Katipaye. Brahma Samhita ki jai we say, but this is a reminder by Lord Brahma that there is an absolute word where every, when you speak, it's a song. Every gate is a dance. Every word is a song. Every drop of water is nectar. That world exists. Every tree is a kalpavruksha. So, Srila Prabhupada here reminds us that there is an absolute world, there is absolute Lord, and there is absolute servitors. So we can understand absolute world. We have heard so many descriptions of spiritual world through, thanks to Brahmaji and all our acharyas. And we also understand position of the Lord as absolute Lord, Satchid Ananda Vigraha. But what about absolute servitors? This is something, little intriguing. How do we say absolute servitors? And especially in the context of this verse, where Uttara is teaching us to take shelter of Lord Krishna. So recently we've had this wonderful Govardhan Parikrama, right? Govardhan Yatra. And Guru Maharaj was so wonderfully explaining the pastimes. In Govardhan, in Puranas explain that this Govardhan is, originally it was 115 kilometers long and 27 kilometers tall. Such that, even Himalayas or Mount Everest would look like peanuts. But this huge mountain, Krishna could, lift on his small little finger of left hand. Yet, what was the response of Vrajavasis? Yashoda Mai is thinking, "Arey, ye to Kanha natkat kuch to karte rehta hai, kuch to karke rehta hai, but bhuka rahega, While he's lifting and playing flute, in that also she's trying to feed prasadam. All Gopas and Vrajavasis are thinking, I think Krishna gets little tired, let us support him. Otherwise, how he'll lose his strength and, whole mountain may come down. All Sakhas, they are making fun. Sridhama Sakha is saying, oh, that's not a big deal. 3 दिन पहले इसको कुश्ती में हराया था, तो ये तो मैं ऐसे भी उठा लूंगा, चलो इसने उठा लिया तो कोई बात नहीं. They are thinking. Madhu Mangal is saying, actually, seems like it is because of my Brahma Tejas, this whole thing is getting lifted. Krishna is only, taking an opportunity. Gopis are thinking, this is not something Krishna is, this is because Radharani is, she is the queen of Vrindavan, and that's why Krishna is able to do something, which. So you see that, all the Gopas and Gopis, there's another pastime when, this is my favorite, Krishna and Balram are playing, and Rohini Maiya is, they're getting late for lunch, Rohini Maiya is coming to, bring them back, and immediately, because they were in the midst of epitome of fun, all Vrajavasi, all Gopas, they threatened Krishna. Krishna, Balram, if you leave now, tomorrow don't show your face, we are not going to take you. Immediately there is a U-turn. Krishna, Balram, okay, let us continue. And then they had to call Yashoda Maiya to actually, drive them away. So in one sense, we see that all the Gopas and Gopis and Yashoda Maya, they have such wonderful loving reciprocation, and they think, I need to protect Krishna, I need to, feed Krishna, I need to wrestle with Krishna, I can, make him lose in the battle, all the sentiments. But at the end of the day, when there is calamity, like this Govardhan pastime or Aghasura or Kaliya, whom do they run to? Krishna. Have you seen anywhere in example, a parent who's taking care of a child in the times of calamity, they are going to child to ask protection? Never ever we have seen. But this can only happen in devotional service. And then same Vraja mood, by Srila Prabhupada's mercy, all devotees are practicing, isn't it? In home, we have the deities. So this absolute servitors, I was just wondering what could it mean, how do we become absolute? How do we strive to become absolute servitors? And then we realize Srila Prabhupada has given us such a simple formula. Throughout the day, although we are in the material world, we have ample opportunities to get in touch with absolute in the material world, non-absolute world, right? Morning, the first thing, you are in touch with absolute, you are getting darshan of Supreme Personality of Godhead in the form of deities. They are absolute. Then you are chanting holy names, that is absolute, right? Then you are hearing Bhagavad Katha, that is absolute. Then you are having Mahaprasad, that is absolute. So, such amazing formula by divine grace of Srila Prabhupada, while we are living in this non-absolute, non-permanent, temporary, material world, we have all the opportunities to get connected with spirit. So matter touches with spirit, and we become, everything is spiritual, right? So this is how we strive to imbibe the mood of, we also take care of deities, right? One may say, oh, you are, somebody else, non-devotee comes and sees, अरे ये क्या चल रहा है? भगवान बोल रहे हैं, उनको नहला रहे हैं, dressing कर रहे हैं, खिला रहे हैं, पिला रहे हैं, taking care of them, protecting them, decorating them. But then we know, we, surrender to them only, to their lotus feet, whether it is calamity or, moment of pleasure. They are our ultimate shelter. And this is how Srila Prabhupada teaches us that how to be in touch with, always be in touch with absolute. So, wonderful formula for all of us to follow the footsteps of Vrajavasis. Later, Srila Prabhupada says, in the world of duality, everyone is envious. My God, now Prabhupada is making us alert. He has given all symptoms of absolute world, and the very fact that, we have to be, while we are in this world, remain in touch with absolute and lead a spiritual life so that you are qualified to go to the ultimate spiritual life. But there is a but, because Prabhupada ji is now cautioning us, my dear sadhaka, if in this world of duality, he doesn't say everyone may, he says everyone is envious of all others. My God, this is a dangerous statement, and we have to be really, really careful. He reminds us that we have to consciously train our consciousness in order to get entrance into spiritual world. We have to get rid of this last snare of Maya. They say, nail on the coffin. So all the anarthas, kama, krodha, lobha, moha, mada, sometimes devotees who are practicing for many, many years, they might think, oh, kama, lust, not a big deal. We have come across it because of, such wonderful association we can overcome. Krodha, sometimes, but it's not a big deal. Lobha, Lobh doesn't touch me, Prabhuji. Everything is in Krishna's service. Yukta Vairagya, so it doesn't matter. Lobh is not a big deal for me. And then moha, moha, attachment. No. It's, I just offer everything to Krishna. Not a big deal. Mother? Mother to childhood se to hum spiritual childhood se sunte hai tura, trunadapi suni chena taro rupe sahishnuna. Every devotee I see, I put dandavats, humble pranams, I'm so humble. But what about envy? That's, Acharyas explain us that is the thickest, most subtlest and mother of all anarthas. And that's the very reason we have come to this material world. Because we might have, engaged all other anarthas in Krishna's service, But why I should not enjoy on my own? Why Krishna is the only enjoyer? Somewhere. So how do we practically, we all have been taught that we have to be non-envious. But how do we really practice? It's very, very difficult. So easy to say, non-envious. See, it's very easy when you are new in the devotional service, everybody around looking, such adventurous, wonderful, everybody next sitting to you, everybody is a pure devotee. We are hearing Krishna Katha, Krishna Darshan, such wonderful, peaceful life. But when we spend few years, then we start judging people. Oh, this devotee, that devotee is like this devotee. Externally, we start judging. And that judgment can turn to, this envious nature. And then, unfortunately, we justify it with scriptures. Just like Daksha Prajapati, he not only found, shortcomings from external judgment of Lord Shiva, such an exalted personality, and then he tried to convince with his all intellectual prowess, he is the Prajapati and all his, demigod sages, he's saying how Shiva is actually like that. I'm not judging, but this is the fact, Prabhu. This is all facts. Lord Shiva is like this. He's a mendicant. He's not the follower of, Shastras. And when we try to convince, and then of course, this envy. So kabhi kaam kharab na hua to naam to kharab kar hi denge. So from such examples we learn, and this is an alert Srila Prabhupada is giving, that don't be envious. Make conscious effort. Rejoice. But how do we do that? Because in material world we have been taught to be competitive. We have been taught if you want to achieve excellence, the only way you can do is to have competitive spirit. So without competition you can't have achieved excellence. Otherwise you are in your own this thing. So does it mean that there is lack of competition in spiritual world? Yes. No. There is a competitive spirit, but that spirit is, the evidence of competitive spirit is not driven by envy, is one doesn't get, if somebody sees that somebody else can do better, then he doesn't get dejected, morose. He feels happy, rejoice. He says, wow, Krishna will be so happy. With this, the other day after Yatra, we had been to, I think it was, which place in Nandagram, and our Deen Bandhu Prabhu had come. And of course, how Deen Bandhu Prabhu explains the pastimes. And he was narrating this pastime of Kaku and Bumblebee. So in Kakus, they have such a sweet singing, they can sing for long, very sweet, very sweet to hear. But moment they observe that bumblebees, they have just come from, surrounding Radha Krishna's pastime, they immediately shut their up and they hear bumblebees in respect and awe and reverence, and they are thinking, wow, these bumblebees, although they don't make such nectarian sound, but how they would have made Lord Krishna and Radharani happy. So this is the mood. We rejoice in others' success and get a desire to do better. This is a book distribution month, so I'm tend to give this, share this pastime. All of you must have heard, right? So when in Radha Gopinath Mandir, every year they put a target, right, for book distribution. Just now we had His Holiness Guru Prasad Swami, gave us the targets. So, you have heard this story, right? Radharani Swami Maharaj, every time they would do all the propaganda, give a big lecture, how to do book distribution, practical tips, and now they will look forward to Maharaj to, announce the target for the year so that everybody is like, And Maharaj would say, I wish that in this marathon year, Radha Gopinath community should do such book distribution that they should come last. Last? But they should double their score what they have done in previous year. You got the point? This is the competitive spirit. You do double than what you have done in the last year, and you have to come last, which means all other temples would, do much more than what you have done. And this is an interesting pastime. I don't know how many of you have heard. So previous year, they asked to announce, and like Maharaj every time, and they were expecting to hear the same thing. You should come last, but you should double. This time he said, this year I sincerely feel and pray that Radha Gopinath community should be number one. Number one? This is a change. And then brahmacharis, those who are close to them, Raj Bihari Prabhu was explaining, he asked Maharaj, is this a change? I mean, we couldn't understand. You never give us such targets, and this time you said, Gopinath should come number one. Why is that? And Maharaj very humbly said, this year, His Holiness Gopal Krishna Goswami Maharaj came here and he gave such wonderful lecture, and he said, Radha Gopinath community should come first. That is my desire. Now, if you really come first, just imagine how Param Puja Gopal Krishna Goswami Maharaj will be pleased. And the whole world will say, it is just because Gopal Krishna Goswami Maharaj came and gave the blessings, Gopinath stood first. And that is what I want. Srila Prabhupada ki. So this is the competitive spirit. So when we say competitive spirit, we should rejoice in others' success. How much time we have? My God, it's 36. Okay. So yes, there is a spiritual competition in the spiritual world, but yet for the pleasure of Krishna, not pleasure of, I scratch, whether my back is being scratched. No, it is for the pleasure of Krishna. And then Srila Prabhupada is putting this conclusion of this verse. The Lord is the only shelter of fearlessness for surrendered soul. One cannot save himself from the cruel hand of death in the material world without having surrendered himself at the lotus feet of the Lord. Bhajahore mana Sri Nandanandana Abhaya Charanara Vindade. So, thinkings, sometimes in the mood of doership, we might maintain this, attitude that I am the doer, I can protect, I can, without me nothing can happen. This mood can precipitate into our consciousness, but that is only the representation of false ego. Just imagine if a child, all of us are the evidence, each one of us sitting here, that we have been protected personally by Krishna in our this life. You know how? I'm sure everybody has been born in mother's womb, right? So just imagine, in mother's womb, 9 months, you are in a situation where you can't even move your limb. For 9 months, you are in such secluded place, congested place. All what mother is eating, the acid and everything is, you can't even complain. You can't even reciprocate with anybody. Everything is burning your body, you're in that agony. You are getting reminded of all your past karmas. And it's a situation where you are about to die. And you come out with such excruciating pain, of course, just to forget after seeing all the happy faces. But there is a, reason. If Lord has protected each one of us while we are into that dangerous situation, definitely He can protect us while we are out. Right? So, Lord is the ultimate protector. Sometimes in office, if they give us some project and we do it successfully, and then we brag, go to the boss, ये मेरे कारण हुआ है. अगर मैं नहीं होता तो कुछ नहीं हो पाता था. Is that true? No, nobody is indispensable in this world. Hence, we have to get reminded again and again and again. And that's why, so for a devotee, such a wonderful situation, while you are in the stage of happiness, it is all happy, it is a reason because you are happy, but then you get reminded that you should not get proud. And how do I do that? By being grateful, by reminding ourselves that, we are grateful to the Lord. And while we are in the moment of calamity, we take shelter of Krishna. So either sukha or dukha or calamity or happiness, we have a way out. So this is a wonderful formula Srila Prabhupada is giving through this purport. Always take shelter of Krishna. And as I said in the beginning, Srila Prabhupada has given us such wonderful lifestyle that at every moment we have an opportunity to get connected with spirit. Spiritual life is not something which will attain after we complete this entire lifetime, and one fine day we will knock the door and suddenly there is a spiritual world which is getting open. No. We are right now, right here. Srila Prabhu, right now, while we are in the association of wonderful devotees hearing Krishna Katha, written by a pure devotee, we are in spiritual world. And this moments to rejoice, we have, every moment we have this opportunity. So all we can do is be grateful and remind ourselves that this fortune is given and I don't want to waste any moment. And if we have this consciousness, then probably at one fine day we will be qualified, and imbibe the consciousness which Uttara has epitomized here, that take shelter of Krishna in any situation. So, Srila Prabhupada ki jai. So, we will end here. Any comments, realizations, questions? We have crossed the time? No, Prabhuji. I think we can share. This is an amazing verse, so you can. Okay. So, if as per Prabhuji's instruction, I'll also 8:50. My God, not so much. I would like to hear from you and all other devotees. Sure, Prabhuji. As per your instruction. So one thing I would like, maybe I'll add, since Prabhuji has instructed, for a devotee, if you see, there is no reason in the sense to be anxious. Isn't it? We hear this anecdote in Padma Puran when Narad Muni is going to meet, his elder brothers, four Kumaras. The first question four Kumaras ask him, Narad Muni, you are a devotee of the Lord, why you are seen anxious? Of course, the context is different because Narad Muni is anxious not about himself, but he is already seeing the symptoms of Kali Yuga being already, represented. Every dham he is going, everywhere he is seeing that, the devotional service is being utilized from a business perspective. The symptom of Kali Yuga, one of the symptoms as we hear in Shastras, that food and education was always given as, charity. It was never charged, but now it is being charged. And Narad Muni is seeing the plight of Kali Yogis like us, and he is anxious and he wants a solution. But Kumaras ask, if you are a devotee, in fact, there is a little bit of sarcasm. You are a devotee and why you are anxious? So, as devotees, we don't have any reason to be anxious. Anxiety means there is a slight lack of faith that Krishna is controller. Krishna is in control, right? If there is a calamity, and if we have full faith that although I or my, close circle doesn't have solution, but ultimately Krishna is in control, then why there is a, reason for anxiety? Of course, we can take anxiety for others, devotees. So this is an important question. If we imbibe this mood of, seeking shelter in Lord in every situation, then it's a happy state in life. As Sri Radharanath Swami Maharaj always says, it is not the situation or change in the situation, but the response what you give to the situation determines the quality of your life. So here, Ashwatthama chose a particular response. His response was instinctive. Oh, he has tried to kill me, he has tried to punish me, I will, do double. It was instinct. But Uttara, although her response was immediate because she had ingrained that consciousness, Krishna is the ultimate shelter. And that is, absolute solution. So if we imbibe this mood of, seeking shelter, and of course, in our terms, seeking shelter could mean various things. It's not that seeking shelter means call up, in anxiety, call up Krishna and, okay, Krishna, please save me. No. But this is available through Srimad Bhagavatam, through devotees, through association, through holy names. How many times we have this mood of, complete surrender while chanting? How many times we have heard that we have to surrender in the mood of servant of servant of servant, dasa dasa anudas while chanting? How many times we have heard? Million times. How many times we have practiced? At least for me, I can say, still struggling. After 16th round, probably 15th round, sometimes suddenly you get a wake-up call. Oh, I'm supposed to be, in the mood of servant of servant. All the time I was getting exciting ideas. Even those, for devotees, I think practicing devotees more relevant are spiritual distractions. not the material distraction. Because material distractions, we are consciously, we do prayers and we say we are in the front of deities, we are in the midst of devotees. So at least there is a reminder कि भैया अभी ऑफिस का मत सोचो, घर का वो सब हो जाएगा. But then while chanting, at least I'm sharing my own experience, suddenly you think that your mind convinces you that बेटा देखो ये सब कृष्णा की सेवा में है, चैंटिंग भी कृष्णा की सेवा में है और डीटी वर्शिप भी है, सब कुछ सेवा ही है, तो क्यों ना तुम ये प्रोजेक्ट करो, प्रभु जी को ये बताओ, ये प्रपोजल बहुत अच्छा रहेगा, उससे ये कर सकते हैं, फिर ये बांधेंगे, फिर उसके बाद ये, और भगवान कितने खुश हो जाएंगे, डिवोटीज वाह वाह करेंगे, रिकॉग्निशन. एटलीस्ट आई मीन देयर इज ऑलवेज अ सेल्फिश थिंग. But mind keeps convincing you that beta you continue thinking about it because ultimately it is for the pleasure of Guru and Krishna. But is that what has been taught to us? No. While chanting you chant, focus on the holy name in the mood of Das Dasan Udas. And then you get reminded suddenly when you are in the last, suddenly you get alert and at least one round I'll chant. So we don't have to mechanically imbibe this, we have to consciously practice this mood of surrender. And I'll just conclude with this last thing which I recently heard in Yatra. Guru Maharaj was saying, what is auspicious and what is inauspicious. In the material world, everything is so relative. When we go on to do auspicious things, it is so relative term in the world of this duality. For example, some years back we had this big earthquake in Bhuj. How many of you have heard? It was in early 70s. The entire thing was devastated. So a uniform answer, if I ask you, was this auspicious or inauspicious? Inauspicious, obviously. So many lives are getting dead. But for one group of people, that was the most auspicious thing to happen. Those were the tent makers. They had their lifetime opportunity to mint millions and millions, lifetime fortunes, because that business was suddenly opened. You make tents for those who are going to take shelter. So in the world of duality, how do we understand, what is auspicious, what is not auspicious? And Guru Maharaj gave a simple formula. The thing is auspicious, which brings us near to Krishna. And everything which takes us away from Krishna is inauspicious. So here, one may say the calamity is actually, it's a big, whenever a calamity comes in our life, we think, oh my God, now, how can I continue? How can I, continue my spiritual life? It's such a big, why Krishna had to do this to me? All the years I've been sincerely, following the footsteps of what has been given. But now, now my own destiny and Krishna is doing this to me. Am I, somebody criticizes you, somebody puts you down, somebody misunderstands you, somebody takes away, some privileges, and we are again on the same, question, why me? But then, if that calamity helps us to go near Krishna, that is most welcome. Maybe a devotee comes and tells you, my dear devotee, this is a great time. Now you have got time. Please go closer to Krishna. More focus on your chanting. Take shelter of Bhagavatam. Take shelter of devotees. Go to Dham. So maybe that is bringing more near to, recently, couple of years back in our Pune congregation, there was one devotee. I gave this example also. He is a practicing grahastha like us, in his mid 40s, probably 40 to 45. 2 daughters going to school, and flat on the loan, car on the loan, and like every grahastha, he's continuing wonderfully chanting. He's initiated devotee, chanting 16 rounds. Suddenly, because of some politics in his office, he works in a sales company which sells this cement products. So generally their businesses are very, very few companies do that, and they are connected to each other. So his boss become very, envious or whatever. And he made sure that this fellow is kicked out overnight without any notice. But he didn't stop at that point. He ensured that wherever this fellow goes for interviews, either the biodata will get rejected on that spot, or on the interview time, then they ask, did you work with this? Okay. Yeah, I will get back to you. So likewise, that boss was so influential that he spread out, rumors about this person. And actually, it came out to be a situation where they found out that this fellow was, asking for his wife. He was attracted by his wife, and that's why this whole thing came up. Such tormenting situation. And why I'm sharing you this is a practical example I've seen in front of my eyes. With our group of devotees whom I'm in touch. Devotee family, initiated family living in Kothurud. Yeah, manager's wife. So devotee's wife is what that boss is longing for. And because he couldn't get that, now material world is such, no, you can't even speak such things. But then he made sure that, he'll spread all the misunderstandings and this devotee is taken out and he doesn't get. So 3 months happened, 6 months happened, and how long a practicing grahastha who is having loan liabilities, and growing family, he's a middle class, well-to-do family, and how long he'll survive? 9 months, 10 months. So at one point of time, he told me he had called up and he said that, Prabhu, and look at his situation, even his provident funds, for some reason, he had, in Karnataka, he had his office, original provident fund, he had registered. So there was some issue in the documentation also. So he said, my all savings are gone, let me take out provident fund. And he, just to realize that his, some issue with the documentation, he would not get his funds for next, at least, few months. At one day, I remember he had called me and he said, Prabhuji, I have lost all my savings. And we devotees were trying to help somehow, प्रसाद को बुलाओ लेके जाओ पर कितना करेंगे he said प्रभु जी मेरे अकाउंट में अभी सिर्फ 300 रुपए है and he was in tears but he said प्रभु जी no worries I will definitely continue. Now this is one part of the story. The other part of the story which I wanted to highlight here is that devotee, moment he got, and we were in continuous discussion, he said, I told him that, don't lose focus on HGCON because it's very easy in such situation to leave everything, to compromise on your rounds, compromise on your association. And that devotee was so determined. He said, Prabhuji, all throughout the years, I was longing to distribute books, but because of my busy schedule, he's a sales marketing guy, I never got a chance. Now I'll do is 3 hours of interviews. I said, don't compromise on your interview thing. You have to do it as if you are going for a new job. Continue, keep doing, go out of country, go out of city, whatever you have to do, you continue. And he continued doing that for 3 hours in a day, but rest, whatever hours he got, he actually went. He said, first time in my life, I went like a beggar. He retired as a vice president marketing, but he took books in his bag and he would go shop to shop in his area and he would try to distribute books. And every day he would report, Prabhuji, it is such a nectarine experience for me. During that whole 12 months, long story short, he got the job and now he is well situated. Everything is good. But Krishna brought him to the point that he was about to get on the streets with all his family. At that situation, then the whole thing turned down. But during that point, he intensified his sevas. He said, not even a single day I missed Bhagavatam class because now suddenly, the whole thing is open. I've got a time slot, 8 to 9. I don't have any excuse that my office is there, meetings are there. He went to morning program, he did Bhagavatam class, he did book distribution throughout and nothing great. It's not that he did a big project or nothing of that sort. He just distributed books whenever he got time and he attended and he's sincerely chanted his rounds. So almost 14 months later, he was almost a pauper on the streets. He got a job and now, 3 years fast forward, he's very well situated. But I always remind, this wonderful example and he rejoices, it's only Srila Prabhupada and Association of Devotees and Krishna Consciousness saved me. Because he took shelter. In the times of calamity, he chose, he could have chosen either ways. He could have said, hell with this, I'll do minimum whatever 16 rounds at home and I'll go Saudi Arabia. He had all the opportunities. Of course, those opportunities were there. And I was trying to push him also. Prabhuji, kuch nahi hua to wahan jaiye, paise kamaiye, wapas aiye. But he said, no, Prabhuji, Pune jaisa environment kahin nahi milta hai. Yahan ka association kahin nahi milta hai. I have tasted this. I don't want to leave. I will keep fighting. And ultimately, Krishna tested. So Krishna has a different taste for each. But we have to pass. The only qualification is, do we have that faith that avashya rakshibe Krishna. Yeah, I think Prabhuji, for your pleasure, I continue till 8:55. So, any comments, realization, Prabhuji can share.
Second and last point we were making about anxiety.
Right.
Devotees should not be in anxiety. This goes back to a classic debate which our parampara have faced, is between Bhajananandi and Goshanandis. So I was reminded of that. So Bhajanandis complain about Goshanandis were that you're always in anxiety. And Goshanandis would always say, you're too much in comfort to Bhajanandis.
Right.
So we have to also understand, which parampara we are connected. When it comes to preaching, when it comes to taking up administrative services, it is without a doubt there would be anxieties. We can't just live without it. But if you're tilting towards more of Bhajananandi attitude, those kind of a thing, we can have our own personal choice. We can be in ISKCON, you can be Bhajananandi, you can be Goshanandi. We don't make that differentiation. But traditionally, Babajis were Bhajananandis, and Gaudiya Parampara ideally have represented Goshanandi mood. There's a lot of focus on chanting. Either of the situation, at least we should not bring that external, the issues that traditionally what we saw in Vrindavan, Bhajanandi and Goshanandi within our institution, we're emphasizing on one point primarily, don't be in anxiety, because if we do that, some people may see some leaders in anxiety and they think, oh, this leader is being neophyte, although he's been around for a long time, but he doesn't have faith in Krishna. The point is, because you have faith in Krishna, therefore you're taking anxiety for Krishna.
You're right.
Because in the material world, anything you do is without a doubt there are going to be a lot of anxieties. So I've heard that point before when you were saying, I was just like, man, I'm in so much anxiety these days.
No, anxiety for self
Yeah.
is not called for, but for anxiety for devotees, for the mission, you can go to any extent.
Correct. So
You have to be supremely anxious. Otherwise, we'll be dull and sitting at one place, happy in our own state. मैं मेरा round करूँगा, मेरा साधना करूँगा, बस और क्या चाहिए? That is a selfishness.
Correct.
Then you are not selfless.
that is also fine. That is Bhajanandi, no worries about it. But I thought that topic came up, so I thought I'll just clarify
Very
this. This picture is clear. Bhajanandi means they are in their world, they are very respected, they are doing bhajan, no problem about it. But that comparison should not happen.
Yeah.
That's the point. So they're doing their things, they have a taste for reading, hearing, they like chanting, and they're like, okay, we just want to do that. But Goshanandis, they have taken up on big sacrifice. Prabhupada said, I'm at this age leaving Vrindavan, where everyone else has chosen to stay at Vrindavan. So Goshanandi life is of more sacrifice, bigger sacrifice, and at the end of Bhagavad Gita, Krishna says, one who shares this message is more pleasing to me, most pleasing to me. So like that. So yes, so first level is, where we begin our life is living a life where we take anxiety of ourselves. Life is all about that. That's selfishness, material selfishness, you can say. Then better than that is, or higher than that is, to take anxiety for the service of Guru and Gauranga. Now, to take anxiety for Guru and Gauranga, you have to be willing to compromise and sacrifice your comfort zone. You will have to compromise, sacrifice your family time, your professional time, or maybe a time sadhana time. I'm not saying not to do those things. You have to maintain. But for example, if there's a Janmashtami festival, it's a firefighting. There's a temple opening, there's a firefighting. There are major events, it's a firefighting. How much ever you may want to do it. For example, I said Janmashtami is there, but for next morning, 4:30, altar has to open. Pujari has to do the service.
Generally, they don't sleep.
Yeah. So, Pujari has to, if the idea comes as, no, let me just chant my first 16 rounds, or let me not have anxiety, that is not our mood. That's not practical in that way. So, just wanted to highlight, so there's a clarity of this topic, what Prabhuji was saying. He was indicating, don't worry about yourself too much. For that, depend on Krishna. But when you're doing services, of course, we depend on Krishna, but Krishna wants us to take anxiety for him. And he would make life tricky. He'll bring situations, he'll like Pandava's life. Unnecessarily, he put Arjuna in anxiety. When Ashwatthama, he committed to Draupadi, I'll go and capture Ashwatthama. So Krishna went along with Arjuna, he captured Ashwatthama, brought Ashwatthama. And now, Ashwatthama should have been killed. Okay, Draupadi, what do you have to say? Draupadi, suddenly she had a heart of change of heart. how much anxiety, imagine how much anxiety Arjuna, अरे यार तुमने करा ही क्यों ये, अब मुझे अब फिर कृष्णा कहते हैं, now Arjuna, you decide. You have to settle Yudhishthira and Draupadi also, and you have to settle Bhimsen also. What about you? You decide, you settle it. I mean, he put it. So that's always going to be part of devotional life. And I would say we should be willing to take anxiety for, for Guru and Gauranga, and that's where you will actually experience your relationship. At least at our Vaidhi Sadhana Bhakti, sitting at home, now is a marathon time. It's a time of anxiety to go out and do book distribution. Maybe standing for hours, some people may reciprocate, some may not reciprocate. And then if the idea comes, okay, there's too much anxiety, better I go back home. And I stay back at home, no anxiety, and I say, I depend on Krishna. It doesn't work like that.
Yeah, worst case, book marathon, you will say, Prabhuji has said we should scrutinizingly study the scriptures. I will finish all Bhagavad Gita in this month. Baba, this is not the time to read. Now we have to go and distribute all.
So, yeah. So anxiety, it actually, as far as my experience of all this administration and leadership role, it's the easiest and the best way to purify oneself, because it really detaches you from all the aspect of sense gratification. You eventually become so helpless. To move forward, you really depend on the Lord, which otherwise in general in your life, just going on with our basic sadhana, 16 hours is the basic thing, just to stay alive, not necessarily to become progressive. Just to stay alive in Krishna consciousness. It's not necessarily going to really make you progressive that way. Our goal that we say, prema bhakti, that's pretty lofty ideals. So the more anxiety we take, the more it pleases Guru and Gauranga, and then more we advance, because the more we become detached from material aspirations, is my understanding on the topic of anxiety. I just want to write that.
Prabhuji. And Prabhuji, just to add I think you mentioned that when you get such situation where you have to carry out anxieties, always do it under guidance of authorities. As you rightly said. Otherwise, if we depend on our mind, let me take anxieties, And then I've one day during Janmashtami, since you mentioned, one devotee came and he said, last 3 days I have not chanted a single round. Because, I was doing throughout 24/7. So sometimes, you are going overboard. I want to take, and this is a second extreme. So we are not, extremists. We are, Krishna has asked us to be balanced. So the safest approach is taking anxiety under guidance. And that way, you are safe. Even if there is a compromise, like, Prabhupada has, forget about rounds, you just go and do it. But that is now sanctioned by pure devotees. So there is nothing, then you are all across, but always under guidance. So Prabhuji brought this wonderful point. Thank you so much, Prabhuji. Take anxieties and have complete faith that Krishna is ultimate control.
You don't have to take it, will come on its own.
Krishna will bestow.
I'm not saying you take anxiety.
Yes.
When you take service, anxiety is a byproduct. So you take service. Otherwise you'll get fearful. Any other questions? You have something to say?
I just wanted to ask one small question regarding this only. This was my understanding. Please correct it if it is wrong. Devotees who take anxiety for Krishna, I feel they are special and empowered devotees. Not everybody will get that opportunity. Am I right in my understanding?
So, Prabhuji, I think the answer is pretty straightforward. Empowerment is always to the degree you surrender to instructions. It's not like we are talking about, there are some devotees are Nitya Siddhas and others are Sadhana Siddha. That is not the discussion, because we know, that's a different discussion. We all are Sadhana Siddha. Having that, presumption, now what? How do I get empowerment? So empowerment is directly proportional to the degree you sincerely follow the instruction. To that degree you get empowered. So where is the question? So any devotee has the potential to get empowered to the degree he surrenders to Guru's instructions and sincerely tries to follow it. Sincerity. Actually, sincerity is very, very subtle thing, because we devotees have such a wonderful culture of appreciation and recognition. It is very easy to succumb and delude to go by externals. The other day we were also discussing. We do sometimes very superficial things. And we are happy if somebody recognizes or appreciates her. We are happy with that. We think that is a success of life. But we also understand, are we living those principles? When I am in seclusion, am I still practicing the same principles which otherwise I would have done it in the association of devotees? Would I be doing the same response in the midst of devotees? Is it the same response I am doing in the seclusion with my family members? If you are sincere enough, then definitely, Krishna will give you empowerment. And we have so many wonderful, examples amongst us within the community. So empowerment will definitely come to the degree you are sincere. So our job is so simple, actually. That's one realization I had. Prabhupada has given such simple formula, the morning program, daily schedule. It is the whole day is designed in such a way that you don't have to do anything, separate. Just follow the instruction and Krishna will keep. Does that help? Prabhuji, you want to add?
Perfect.
Jai Jagat Guru Srila Prabhupada ki jai. Nitai Gaur Premanande. Hare Krishna. Thank you so much.